Hello! It's time for a little bit of Worm Unlimited. I got a few things on my plate today that I want to talk to you about. The first of which will do kind of like a deed tour of my latest Worm Unlimited deed. This is just on a LAN server, so it's nothing spectacular. There's no people around, and so we'll go through that, and then I have a couple other things I want to catch up on, some news about stuff I'm going to do as far as the YouTubes, and then talk about the YouTubes itself. Even though I'm fully aware and full disclosure, I don't have enough analytics. Those are antholympics, something like that. I think the word I was looking for was analytics, i.e., subscribers, followers, popularity, all the things that matter in the perception is reality world, to discuss some of the rumblings going on around YouTube. Luckily, I don't give a fuck, so I'm going to talk about it anyway. But we'll get to that. Let's tour, shall we? As you can see, we're heading up the Hobo Highway Bridge. As poor Agent K can tell you, I am kind of fascinating? I can't speak. Fascinated with the word hobo at the moment. I went on a spree in Ark where every dino I had was named Hobo something. Hobo Tim, Hobo Tina, Hobo Airlines for some of my flyers. And I'm not watching where I'm going, but anyway, I've been on this particular map a couple times. This is my longest playthrough. I've just been in the mood for Wurm, and with Unlimited, I can do whatever I want. Now, I will say that I do use a GM character. This is not the GM character. This is like my main little toon dude. But I mostly use him for dirt work. Like he did all this over here because I'm lazy and didn't want to spend the hours it took. Which I'll get into how I balance GM toon play with normal character play here in a minute. But so I leveled all that out, made this road. The road, I didn't feel like doing the opening from the far end of the road, but it goes to some peat and some tar that I need. And then I got this flat plot up here that I started with, essentially, and then kind of worked my way down. But I'm coming up here because it gives you a good view of everything. Got a little storage going on there. Got the King Hobo's hut. That would be my house. Got some cart house, got a kitchen. I always make a kitchen now, and I use ovens, which is another great thing about Worm Unlimited. No elitist to tell me that, why use ovens? Because forges are better. Forges make food that is piping hot and much fresher than an oven, even though it's a fucking oven. If you can't tell, I'm making fun of Wurm online and some of the people that you will run across. Don't have that problem here. Yeah, but anyway, I will say if you're watching this and have played with me in Wurm Online, you'll notice that I actually am doing decorations. I plan to decorate. Something I refused to do in Wurm Online because it was getting in the way of building more shit. But come down here. I like having cart storage. So I just built this. The GM Toon built none of this stuff. It's all built by this guy. I've got a little secondary character that I'm going to turn into a priest as soon as I figure out how to do it. That is the one downside to not having other people. You got to kind of jump around and mechanic things. These are horses I found. These are horses I spawned in because I'm a lazy bitch. And I really should hit spacebar to just kind of move around and show you stuff. And then I can pan and zoom and be all cinematic about it. That's farm field. Whoopee. Yeah, except when I transition back to normal mode. I'd say that the dirt work between GM Toon and regular Wurm Toon with increased timers and skills is probably about 50-50. I'm playing more with some of the new, well, they're not really new anymore, but some of the building pieces and wall pieces that I have never played with. You'll notice that instead of like a narrow wall or just a window, I put a oriole. I think that's how you say it. Oriole up there. And then you come in here. I've used a portcullis as my door. Kind of come in here. Got a loom. I like my little nook for forging. It's a little crowded. Even I think it's a little cramped, but I don't know. I like it. So it kind of works that way. Got a magical chest. Didn't pay for that motherfucker. Didn't have to pay an outrageous price for that. Being the only way, apparently, now you can keep anything of value, sentimental or otherwise, in Wurm Online without it being magically poofed for some reason because the developers are a bunch of cockheads. I'm not going to ramble on about that just yet. I'm getting ahead of myself. This is the latest building I'm going to build. Obviously, it's a plan. It's House of Doors 3.0. Now, little backstory. One of my other videos on Wurm, and I think I've done 2 or 3, maybe 4 videos, most of them from Wurm Online. I started building this building that the ever-lovable Quiglin called the House of Doors because it's going to have like doors everywhere and a couple tunnels. I built it first on the Exodus server, and then I built it again on the Xanadu server, and unless my deed has popped, which I don't think it has, I think the new owner is still using it. That building's probably still there. But I just thought I'd build it again because I got to fill spaces, and I want some stuff to do. I'm using Wurm Unlimited as basically like chill out, relax. I'm really not into any other games at the moment. A few here and there, a little bit of Miscreated, a little bit of Ark, rarely a few matches of Counter-Strike. And then you come up this probably not princess approved hill to a mine, which does have iron, copper, and a couple other things in it. Not GM added. That is what's funny about the GM characters. I mean, I could add every ore I wanted just inside any mine shaft. And I don't know, it's just a bridge too far for me. Which will roll in nicely to how I balance this play. If I had bought Wurm Unlimited initially, like I'd never set foot in Wurm and just bought this, I probably would have ruined the experience for myself. Because one thing that I tend to go overboard with, or can go overboard with, is when given creative power mode or just super powered mode, you tend to go bonkers with it. I've done it in Minecraft. I've done it in Ark Survival Evolved. I've done it in 7 Days to Die. The problem becomes is then you run out of fun stuff to do for yourself. So the fact that I played Wurm Online for like 3+ years before I ever bought this or before it came out really helped establish what I like about Wurm and what I don't like about Wurm. So when I run across something that I don't like doing or don't want to be bothered with, I use my GM character. But then the bulk of stuff that I enjoy, like farming and mining to a point, dirt work, building, I can do that myself and with this little character. Now, don't make no mistake, this is not set to Wurm Online's timers and skill gain and all that. I don't have patience for that. I have it set to where I'm gaining rapidly enough that I can get quite far in a few-hour play session, but not so fast that, again, it turns into creative mode and you're really not doing yourself any favors. I do one thing I'm going to have to learn how to do is keep moving as I'm going along here. But it becomes... and now I've lost my train of thought. See, for my new plan that I'm about to unleash on you here in a minute, it's going to be kind of difficult if I can't do 2 things at once, which I'm not known for. Anyway, so I think I found a good balance. And given that I'm done with Wurm Online, I think I kind of left that up in the air when I did my Wurm Dilemma Get Off the Lawn. But now I'm done with Wurm Online. The more I thought about the hose job I got when my merchant just magically poofed with 3+ years of sentimental objects on it, because I was daring to use it as storage, I guess. I still have never been given a reasonable answer or any kind of answer as to why that happened after only a couple months away. I don't have time for it. I'm not paying them X amount a month for them to make ninja changes and a bunch of other changes. Now, that said, I am bashing on Code Club, but I do have to say that some of the stuff that they've added to Wurm Unlimited, a bunch of stuff that they've added to Wurm Online, are nice improvements on the game. In my mind, it's probably too little too late, but it's nice to see them kind of getting out of the mold and adding things that fit to Wurm, but aren't necessarily, the standard fare or add new elements to it, like the riffs and that kind of stuff. Now, I'm basing my little monologue here on the fact that you played Wurm. If you haven't, well, you're probably one of the Steam reviewers who calls the combat crappy and a half dozen other things, which it'd take you 5 minutes on Google to figure out that if you're playing this game for combat, you're playing the wrong game. And so my plan for the future, I've had a little bit of an issue with the Get Off My Lawn series of videos that I've been doing. Now, the issue isn't doing the series of videos. I enjoy doing that. I like getting stuff off my chest. I like doing the old man shtick. But I suffer from a couple problems. One, I hate scripts. As much as I'm stumbling and stuttering and not doing 27 things at once here, every time I write a script, it just never nails what I think. And I work much better when I can just ramble and freeform and then cut it down to whatever makes sense. Or if nothing makes sense, then it means I need to think about it more. Because the biggest problem you have right now on the internet, and the end of this video will probably demonstrate that, is that you have to be very careful and choose your words very wisely. We live in a perception is reality based world as far as I'm concerned. And when it comes to the kangaroo court of public opinion that is the internet, you are guilty until proven innocent. And I just don't have the patience, energy, or time to deal with the ramifications if I dare misspeak one word. And I'm not talking about the biggies. I'm not talking about, racist stuff or homophobic stuff or whatever other buzzwords being thrown around and diluted by the second. That's not me. And I'm not that type of person. But there's some things going on around gaming and the internet that I think people are just glossing over, or the way certain things are handled, like how the outrage is handled brilliantly, yet when it comes time to, the whole story's known and maybe the outrage was wrong, I don't see too many people correcting their mistakes. There's a lot of things, being older, that really piss me off, but yet you still have to be very careful about how you handle it and go about it. And every time I try and do it in a script, what I tend to end up doing is I tend to be too guarded, too pulled in. When I did WonderPod, the ranting that you heard on that podcast was very organic. It's just, this has pissed me off. I'm going to go for 5 minutes and hopefully somebody gets a laugh out of it. Maybe somebody will realize that, hey, there is other ways to look at this. There is other ways to do this and that. And that was the end of it. And I just don't have that energy and that force that I need when I'm reading a script. It just feels very much like I'm reading the news or the weather. Not that news is scripted. The news is meant to just, from what I can tell, especially with the current presidential insurrection, it's meant to fearmonger, pander, and or give you misinformation. But I'm definitely not going to delve into politics. That can kiss my ass. So what I'm thinking, to try to wrap up this portion of my rambling, is from now on, when I have something on my mind, or a couple somethings on my mind, I will come into Wurm, and I will play Wurm for a while, and go along as I do, and instead of watching silly videos on YouTube, I will sit down and record, and I will talk about things that are bugging me, or things that I have an opinion about that I want to get out there to you. And hopefully, in the process of switching from a scripted, voiceover with footage that I had laying around behind it, to this style, I will be able to actually play the game and talk. I have to give every streamer in the world credit, because I, a lot of times, communicate with my hands. And will do it even when I'm playing a video game, and even when you can't see my hands. So I think there's going to be a bit of a transition to me being here, sitting here playing, and at the same time sitting here trying to talk. I don't know if I'll ever be able to accomplish it. Either way, I think you're going to get a laugh out of it. To me, I don't care if you're laughing with me or at me, as long as you're laughing and having a good time. Because that's kind of the point in anything I do on YouTube. YouTube is such a clusterfuck disaster area that I just want to have fun. And actually, the internet in general is a clusterfuck disaster area, so I just kind of want to have fun, and hopefully maybe make other people have fun. Well, not make them, but you know what I mean. So now let's go down to the House of Doors 4.0 or whatever it is. It'd be 3.0, I think. But yeah, so I'm going to probably turn these into live action, get off my lawn segments, is essentially what this is going to become. Fuck. Oh, God. Yeah, it's going to take some time. I'm going to try and stick with it, though, and see what happens. So, let's close out this video, since I probably already rambled on way too much time, and I lost my timer. And oh, wait a minute. I've been recording for 17 minutes. Yeah, this is going to be a longer video than I'd planned. The last couple things that I wanted to get to, and I'm just going to lump them all together, is this whole YouTube schmozzle. The first part being that when YouTube started actually enforcing their rules, that, you know, if you say racist, homophobic, dirty, nasty, controversial things, we're gonna delete your videos or not allow you to monetize them. Google just doesn't have a great way of communicating what they're doing. Let's just call a spade and say that. And some of the outrage and reaction to it was appropriate, because a lot of people rely on YouTube for their income. And so I understand being upset and being, feel like the sky is falling if that's what you've done, or that's what you're doing. Where I got very fed up was 4 days later, the continued whinging and whining and acting like YouTube had taken away your birthday. Now, part of that is on me, I fully admit, because I have a worldview that nothing is owed to me, that everything could be possibly taken away from me at any moment. So I don't rely on or don't expect certain things to exist at any one time. I'm the type of person that believes you always have to adapt, you always have to change. Now, the lashing of YouTube and Google for their stupidity is fine. It's absolutely fine. But where I get tired is, yes, this corporate entity that gave you basically a turnkey business is being a bunch of assholes, but it's a corporate entity that gave you a turnkey business. They can take your ball and go home with it any damn time they choose. The only way you're going to truly combat that is to make your own video service. If you can manage to do that, then great. If you can manage to get away from YouTube or Twitch or whatever, then great. Otherwise, you're going to have to adapt. I don't like it. I don't think these corporate entities should be doing this to us. But at the same time, all type of life you have to adapt. All type of life. There's so many things in life you have to adapt for. So if there's really no possible way we're going to stop YouTube from being a bag of dicks, you either quit or you adapt. And my problem is I saw too many people who thought they were somehow going to overturn this. And good YouTubers who are definitely smart enough and have the audience enough to adapt their system. I'm not talking about, just overall changes or real radical changes. Most of the people I saw complaining were people who only had to tweak one or two things and they would have been fine. Not to mention the fact that once the initial furor died down, it seemed like not too many videos were getting nailed by this new restrictive policy. There were cases of it, and with YouTube's automated system, that made it an unholy nightmare and just complete bullshit. But again, the whinging and the whining is overreaction to the point that it's really hard for me to have sympathy for you after a while. Simply because, okay, you're in the situation now, you're going to have to figure out what to do next. How about you do that? I can respect and support somebody that does that versus just continuing to whinge like you're some kind of martyr. Yeah, again, it's a tough balance for me. This is why I figured this was going to get me in trouble, because it's a tough balance for me. I understand and support beating on Google for doing this in the first place because it's ridiculous. But there comes a point for me when, okay, this is the situation I'm in. I've got to do something about it. I mean, I'm never going to have to worry about it. I have exactly 11 subscribers. that my videos get about 5 views, I'm never going to monetize anything. I do this purely as a hobby. I've always looked at it that way. I'm not entertaining enough, charismatic enough, or indeed good enough to ever make this a career. I'm not sure I'd want to. I don't think what professional YouTubers have to put up with, or the kind of not scheme, the kind of way they work would ever suit me, would ever go over well for me. So, in conjunction with the whole YouTube and their new rules thing, now I see, and I really was going to stop the video right there, but then I see this thing cropping up on my Twitter feed called YouTube Heroes, where essentially YouTube is going to allow people to go through a process and become moderators for YouTube. I can't begin to tell you what a bad idea that is. I'm like everybody else that's spoken about this. My thing is I'm not at all surprised, and I don't understand how other people are. Google has always done this. Do you know how to email Google directly? Email a support or a helpline? Probably not, because Google's idea of help is little groups where you get lug nuts that sometimes have the answers, but a lot of times just have not answers, or when their answer doesn't work, they're more likely to call you a dipshit for not being able to figure it out than understanding that their answer didn't work for you. Google's always done this. They've always fobbed off the support side of things to the community as much as they could. The problem with YouTube is you just have too many assholes with an axe to grind that are going to try and get in this program, and that are going to try and abuse this program. Now, I've heard the opposite argument of that, if this is going to be too strenuous a process for them. And I'd like to believe that's true, but somehow internet trolls have changed in the last little bit. They just don't give up now. Some of them get it in their heads so badly and just want to grind you so badly, and they're such pathetic wastes of humanity that they're going to keep going, and they're going to take the long-term view of it and try to get in this program simply so they can attack people and videos that they want to attack. Now, is that number going to be huge? Probably not, but this is a bad idea. To me, this is kind of like MMOs that I've talked about, like Black Desert Online, restricting player trading or other things players do so as to cut down on spammers instead of hiring more GMs. Google is a multi-billion-dollar company. I'm saying that without having looked it up, but I'm sure it's true. They could pay people to moderate YouTube instead of a stupid robotic system. And that's the thing. Everybody wants this to all be automatic and instantaneous and simple to use and don't have to deal with humanity. Unfortunately, though, there's some things humans still have to look at. There's things you still have to make a judgment call on. Do humans always get it right? No, but they get it more right than an automated system or little moderators who are either trolls trying to get at somebody, or the other case, and to me, because I'm an asshole, this is the worst, net nannies. Because net nannies still exist. Now, if you don't know what a net nanny is, or what I call a net nanny, it's somebody who has this idea of the internet and has this idea of the morals that should be on the internet and has this idea of how people should behave. And they have no issue with telling you that and trying to enforce their will on a particular group, community, or forum. And I have a feeling this YouTube Heroes program is going to become a massive home to these clowns. And the thing is they're not right. Some of them have good ideas. The problem is you just can't arbitrarily decide that that's how everybody else should behave. We're all individuals. And I've seen net nannies absolutely ruin communities. I'm not really sure YouTube or its communities could be any more ruined than they already are. It's something that is going to become a problem. And Google's not going to handle it right. They never do. So this YouTube right now, I think it's still a viable platform at the end of the day. But I think you're just going to have to adapt as they try to become more like broadcast television, which how anybody's shocked that $1 billion and $1 million advertisers are running the show, even on the internet. It's just, I'll be happy if it ever changes or if we find a better way. But this has been going on for the last 50 years. It is what it is. And like I said, I just get to the point where I can't be angry anymore. I can't express outrage anymore. I have to look at the long term picture of, okay, what kind of system am I dealing with and how do I work in it? And again, outrage is great. Being upset is fine. But there just comes a point where all of this crap, you just have to put it aside. And if you're really into creating stuff and you really got a message you want to get out to people, then you get that message out to people and you figure out ways to make it work for you. You know, I, because your message and your creations and your audience is far, 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 far more important than Google and its stupidity. And that's what I want to support at the end of the day. I want to support creators who adapt to these changes and who, in spite of Google, keep doing things that are awesome and are able to say the F word whenever they want. That's another reason why I'm not going to ever try and monetize my videos, even if I get more views, because I like saying fuck. It's my third favorite word. No, it's my favorite word. The other two are just ones I combine with it. So I have been rambling way too long. I didn't intend for this video to be this long. So this is my worm deed. You will be seeing it far more as we go along. And that's my thoughts on some random things. And hopefully in the future, the videos will get shorter and a little more coherent. And I'll be able to actually play and talk at the same time. Now, get off my goddamn lawn. I've got walls to build and things to do. See ya.